what does the MUTCD use to determine the suggested distance between these advanced warning signs? It uses the type of road. Urban, rural, and expressway. Now, obviously, we know that some of these roads are going to be faster than others, but the MUTCD itself actually employs this as the means for determining the spacing. Okay, let's go back. And let's take a look at the transition area. Here we are in the transition area. Transition area what is the transition area? It moves the traffic out of its normal path. This is what we know, and we see a sign of it sitting here. And the parts of it may include what? A merge taper, a shifting taper. And notice we've got 1/2 L and some other things here that we'll learn about in a minute, and a 1-lane, 2-way taper. And we have a 50 feet, 100 foot. And by the way, some of this I know you saw the other module had the other MUTCD book. That's all being updated and will be out soon in a version 10, by the way. And so we have these options, and these are determined by Table 6C4. Table 6C4, of course, actually gives us our formulas if we want to calculate them for the speed miles per hour, where we have the L, the taper length, based upon the width of the offset. So we're actually offset times the speed. So when we're trying to figure out the taper length and so on and so forth, what are we using? We're using the width of the offset plus the speed, and that formula ultimately gives us the value of L, which is the final method for determining the taper. In the activity area, we have the activity area, and of course we know that's where the work takes place. And its parts may include a workspace, a traffic space, a buffer space. And those buffers can be either longitudinal or latitudinal. And here there is some description of what constitutes those. So that's a simple enough definition. And then finally we have the termination area. And in the termination area we have let's normal traffic flow resume. Parts may include a buffer space, which is longitudinal, a downstream buffer, and guidance signs that can be used before normal speed resumes. And again, notice that we still have over here, from our original diagram, a locator objective here to keep us in place where we are. Let's take a look at item number 2 over here. What is a taper? And you know, we've been talking about tapers, and this is what tapers are. They're a series of devices placed to move traffic out of its normal pathway. And you can see we have the shoulder tapers, we have shifting tapers, we have downstream tapers, and so on and so forth. And we're not going to look at every one of these here for time, but we are going to look at the shift taper specs as an example. And what is a shift taper? First off, shift tapers are normally 1/2 of L. L is based on road speed and lane offset. And the taper devising spaces is based on the speed and taper type. Now, if we take this, just to show you, we have a little calculator out here, and it does L is determined by 2 factors, the lane offset and the road speed. And what we can do here, if we want to, is we can actually move our width of our taper out, and we can change our speed. And as we do that, this down here calculates the values for us, and so we know what that would be. So you can have a nice discussion about that, and then it shows you up here what that would look like based upon that area. If I slow myself down, the equation changes to accommodate the s squared part of the piece. And if I increase my taper, my L increases appropriately, and if I decrease it, it changes to, in terms of my taper to whatever values would be appropriate in the situation. So let me go back. And the other thing you'll notice here is on each one of these tables it talks about the shift taper type. You have the ability to open up the formula table if you want, so that we can actually view the table. But you also notice the number here, the 178 feet and the 45 feet for the max spacing. If I change these, it will readjust these automatically for me, again as an aid for discussion with trainees. Let's see, we've done the taper, and we've done the advanced warning sign spacing. Spacing depends mainly on the highway type. The MUTCD does not directly use speed limit for spacing, though highway types often determine speed limits. And so, again, we can look at that table and we can see what it would look like here if we want to look at it here. We also have a little drop-down menu that will allow us to select the type of highway that we have. Like if we have a rural, and notice it will automatically tell us what that sign spacing would be based upon the criteria that we have entered. And we also, how do we apply the standards? Here we've got a TA index, and not so distant in the near future here, in fact in matters of weeks, all of the TAs that exist will be here, and we're coming up with a new indexing piece for them to allow them to be displayed in here. So, and again, you have that option of displaying the tapers and so on and so forth. Let's see then, going forward. Let's try this just for the heck of it. And here you get a chance to use your little controls again. And what we're going to do is real quickly we're going to start this quiz. And the first question is the termination area. So using your controller, you press the number that you think corresponds to where the termination, and notice this is in the darker orange. Some of these are definitions and some of them are words, so you place where you think it goes. So just start punching in your numbers on your controllers. I see we got 20 people who've put in values, 27. Okay, now you're pressing numbers 1 through 8. Those are the numbers you get to use. Okay, I'm going, somewhere in here I'm just going to say, I'm going to go with the majority opinion at this point already. And basically it's saying here, but that's a dough, because actually this was the definitional one. This was the thing I was trying to warn you about. It actually goes up into the definition area. All right. So, advanced warning area. Where is the advanced warning area? Okay, punch in some numbers for me. Well, it's not giving me my readout up there. I'm just going to, because we're running short, I'm just going to start moving. Shall I put it here? Is that where I should put it? Okay, how about over here? Okay, I won't get a dough if I do this. All right, okay, I made it. All right, let's take a look at the next one. The activity area. Where's the activity area? Shall I put it down here? 2. Okay, all right. Sure you don't want to hear Homer again, huh? Okay, here's our next item. Tells the traffic what to expect ahead. Now this is definitional, so it's going to go in the lower set of numbers. Put it in number 8, I hear somebody saying. Everyone agree? Okay. Hot darn, we're flying now. Where the work takes place. Oh, I was giving that one away. Otherwise, I know you wouldn't have got it right. Okay, let's the traffic resume. 5. Okay, oh yeah, well. Boy, everybody's doing that one. Okay, and the transition area, where's the transition area? 3, I heard a 3 out there. And finally, moves traffic out of the normal pathway. That's going to be the one that's left. And of course, there will be no last items, and our score was 89 because of our little definitional issue. So this is a fun thing you can play to help train people. And I think everyone would agree that understanding how this pathway goes together is an important part of being able to visualize the kinds of errors and problems that may occur. So it's a good visualization thing to at least be able to understand that very basic concept with workers. So let's start polling and let's see where we are now. The area of temporary traffic control zone that lets normal traffic flow resume is the 1, termination area, 2, the activity area, 3, the transition area, 4, the advanced warning area, or 5, I don't know. And let's see where we are, 69, 70, and just because we're going to move quickly, I'm just going to start doing those. And let's see where we are, just for the heck of it. Okay, everybody's into this one. Okay, so a series of devices placed to move traffic out of its normal path is 1, a buffer, 2, a shoulder, 3, a taper, 4, an attenuator, or 5, I don't know. Okay, and let's just sort of say that we've got our stuff there, and we got a taper, we had an attenuator. Somebody's just being smart out there, I know. So here we go. According to the FHWA MUTCD, the spacing of advanced warning signs depends mainly on, what does it depend mainly on? Highway type, speed limit, road surface, weather, or I don't know. Okay, so again, this is according to the FHWA MUTCD, the spacing of advanced warnings depends mainly on what? Highway type, speed limit, road surface, weather, or I don't know. And we'll just stop right there, and let's see where we are there. Highway type, speed limit, weather, road surface. Okay, now, anybody want to say why they picked weather just in general? Because I have an idea why a person might pick that. Okay, speed limit? What's the correct answer here, according to our material? Highway type. And now, I heard some discussion going on when we were saying that, because I heard people saying, well, that's not right. And so I think some people stuck to their opinions, and it may be, is it possible, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but is it possible that some of the state DOTs may do something differently? So based upon a state DOT reg, you might have something that varies, yeah. And I saw some nods of heads on that. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I just messed up our display of the final quiz. That's all right. The heck with it. You don't need to see what you did in the long run anyway. So at this point, we're going to bring Don back up. And it's a 5-minute break. Oh, 5-minute break. Okay. 5-minute break. Okay, we're going to start right away on the goal of temporary lighting. And again, this is one more of the many modules in the selection. There are 21 with a lot of variations. And after I do the pre-quiz, I'm going to get off the stage, and Don is going to take over and walk you through the procedure. Actually, I guess I'm going to stay here because I'm going to click it through. But here we go. Let's get started with the pre-quiz. And one of these days, you're actually going to get to see the results that you have at the end of one of these quizzes. So let's start. Our first question for polling is, who should oversee the installation and adjustment of temporary lights? Is it the contractor, a qualified engineer, a competent person, an electrician, or I don't know the answer to that question? So here we are. Who should oversee installation and adjustment of temporary lighting, temporary lights? Is it the contractor, the qualified engineer, the competent person, the electrician, or I don't know? And I see one of the guys running down here. He just can't wait to get to the handheld. Okay, so who should oversee the installation and adjustment of temporary lights? Contractor, qualified engineer, competent person, electrician, or I don't know. And you see, you can use this number down here to judge your attrition rate too within a seminar. Yeah, it's got a lot of different uses. So we're going to stop on that one right there, and then we're going to go to our next question. And our next question: to control glare in temporary lighting, aim the light sources parallel or perpendicular, diagonal, convergent, oblique, or I don't know, to the traffic. To control glare in temporary lighting, now of course we know first we're aiming down, so we're assuming that you already know we're not going to be shooting into eyes, but assuming we're down, to control the glare in temporary lighting, aim the light source parallel or perpendicular, diagonal, convergent, oblique, or I don't know. Oh, I better start polling, hadn't I? So we've got 34, 46. We've got a lot of responses coming in here now. And we'll stop right there, just for the heck of it. And let's go on to our next question. A key feature of equipment-mounted balloon lights is they, 1, cost less, 2, mount easily, 3, are low maintenance, 4, reduce shadows and glare, or 5, I don't know. So the key feature of equipment-mounted balloon lights is they, 1, cost less, 2, mount easily, 3, are low maintenance, 4, reduce shadow and glare, and 5, I don't know. Okay, we'll just stop right there and do our next question. In addition to safety, contractors should use proper temporary lighting to increase public acceptance, DOT approval, productivity and quality, billable equipment, or I don't know. So are we trying to do public acceptance, DOT approval, that's number 2, 3, productivity and quality, 4, billable equipment, or 5, I don't know. Some things in there might not be mutually exclusive, right? Public acceptance, DOT approval, productivity and quality, billable equipment, or I don't know. And we're going to stop as soon as I see one more, but if I don't see it, okay. And we're going to now save this away. At least we're going to know what you did, even if you don't.
Rod?
Yes.
Would you start with just slide 1 from the risks? Go back to the risk module.
Okay, I will.
I just want the first slide and all the bullets.
Okay, we're going to go back one module, and by the way, this is another feature of the program. Up here at the top, there's a menu button, and when you pull the menu button down, it shows you all the modules that are in it. So even though you've done a set order, in this instance, we're going back to look at one of the slides in a module that was missed, and this is going to be it. And why do we focus on night work? And Don wanted me to bring these up for you.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of go through the slides of what we have on the the night lighting, but I think to set the stage for that, just want to review, which is the obvious to everyone. Why do we focus on night work? We focus on night work because it's becoming a major part of the industry activity, and it changes the environment in a way that you have to be very careful about what you're doing, or someone someplace is going to get hurt. Whether it's the motorist who's going to drive through the cones into a wall, or somebody not seeing somebody else on the job. And so it is different. It's just not the same. Obviously, the reason you do the night work is that, in theory, there reduces the traffic volume and less congestion and improved mobility, except when you're on one of the interstates where they're doing night work. Better access to the work site, longer work shifts all night, in theory cooler temperatures, and obviously reduced business impact on all the parts that get when you're doing work on a road. But there are a lot of concerns, and that's why we've put 3 or 4 different modules in here that one needs to pay attention to when you're really dealing with the night work. And that is, it increases both the workers' and the contractors' nervousness, kind of an understatement. It poses much more added health and safety issues, which is a critical issue, and it requires more effort to achieve the health and safety for the workers and the public because of the environment of working at night. With that, in the interest of time, we're going to deal just with the lighting. We have one on this module has a lot of risks. We have another module on high visibility clothing and flagging. They're all critical, but the lighting one, I think, demonstrates really the environmental issues that are really important. And the goal that we have here of the temporary lighting is, obviously it should achieve. Just run through here. Yeah. Obviously, you want to properly illuminate the workspace. You want to control glare to avoid blinding the motorists and workers. You want to minimize shadows. You want to increase safety and increase productivity and work quality. And we have a couple little demos here. For example, if you look at the slide as you're seeing it, in terms of proper illumination, and then you look with the proper illumination. On the first slide, you can't really see much, and when you put the lights on, you can actually see what's going on. Second demo is the glare. If you look at the first one, you'll see you can some of the work and so forth is hidden by the glare. If you reduce the glare, you can then actually see the vehicles and the workers and the site. And then the third one is the shadows. If you're working in shadows, you can have some serious problems. If you light it properly, you eliminate the shadows, and again, you see what's going on. Next slide. So what are you talking about doing here, sort of as a minimum? You have to have a project lighting plan so that everyone knows where they are, what they're doing, and particularly that you're trying to deal with the glare and shadows. We're back to our competent person who oversees the installation of adjustment of lights. Who did we decide the competent person was?
Who is the competent person?
Yes.
I don't know.
We would think that on a job, really, the competent person is probably the one who has expertise in lighting. It may be a foreman or supervisor, it may be someone else, but in fact it is someone who actually knows what they're doing and can demonstrate that they understand the concepts of adequate lighting and so forth. They have emphasized the importance of staying in the lighted areas and avoid going in the dark. And some of these are very obvious. When you're setting up light towers, try to avoid hitting overhead power lines. That will illuminate things far more than anybody wants to be illuminated. We have an interesting little chart here that says when you're dealing with light towers and so forth, safe distance from those lines. And that is, if you're looking at low, high voltage and very high voltage towers and so forth, you need to be a good distance away from them. Otherwise, you can attract what did we used to call it, static electricity. It gives you a good jolt. It could kill you. And if it's foggy or wet, don't assume that this is really wireless to wireless. The power will jump right onto you. Okay. Then we obviously are talking that from a worker's point of view, if you're not comfortable with the lights, you need to point out about there are too many shadows, glare, unlighted areas, missing lights, all the usual stuff, except, again, the night work is very unforgiving. It's just unforgiving, and that's the point we're trying to make. What should be illuminated? Obviously, so the workers can see the work area, the motorists can see the workers, the mounted lights not put you in shadows, the backhoes, buckets, other equipment not only should be illuminated, but the illumination should be around the safety circle around the equipment. So that you can see it. My best analogy for everyone who's not familiar with lighting and big places is think of going to a sporting event that's done at night. Think of what the baseball diamond, how they've adjusted the lights so that virtually every place you are in that baseball diamond, if you're a player, you can see. Even though they say I was blinded by the lights. Those lights are done so there are no shadows and you can see things. And that's true whether it's baseball or football. Indoors at these arenas, people spend huge amounts of money to eliminate the shadows so that when you're playing basketball or hockey, whatever, that again, on the court or on the lighting is like you want to have it on your job. Glare is a hard one. It's a hazard for everyone. It reduces the visibility, it reduces the contrast, it causes a lot of accidents, and again, it's a question of placement and movement. You have to place the lighting so that you're eliminating glare from where you're working, and you have to make sure that if you move your work that you adjust the lights to make sure that you haven't moved into the glare or the shadows. How do you control all this? We have some interesting points about minding the light sources as high as practical. Direct the light downward towards the pavement. Is that the good part or the bad? That's the good one. Show the bad one. See, the bad one, that's the bad one. This is the good one. Same thing for aiming the light sources parallel or perpendicular to the traffic, so that you're in the right place there. And then obviously the competent person needs to make the adjustments, and the recommendation of test driving the work zone so you can actually see what's going on. And then there's an interesting discussion we have about the vehicle lights, that the vehicles have to both have conventional headlights as well as warning lights and strobes rotating or flashing. We have a little demo to show, the equipment with or without the headlights, and then with the warning lights working or not. We have a point that the headlights are not the sole illumination, despite the movies you see with them doing brain surgery by headlights. They really need the mounted lights and the correct stuff. The lights really need to be checked at the beginning of every shift, and replace all the non-working lights after everybody's scraping something up. The answer is, oh yeah, I knew that light needed to be replaced. That's not the right answer. And finally is what other lights can be used. There's a device called balloon lights, equipment mounted lights, good supplements. It's also mobile, reduces shadows, so on and so forth. It's again, they're all glare reducing, backwards illumination, rear illumination, and once again we have our overhead power line primer. In a short period of time, that's our temporary lighting. Do we have any questions before Rod gives you the quiz?
Okay.
Well, I'm glad that you either that you were so absorbed by the process. And, thank you.
Okay, we're going to try to get this one right this time. So here we go. Let's start out. Who should oversee the installation adjustment of the temporary lights? Would this be the contractor, the qualified engineer, the competent person, the electrician, or I don't know? Who should be the one who's taking care of this? The contractor, the qualified engineer, the competent person, the electrician, or I don't know? And so we'll stop the polling on that, and let's see what we have on there. The competent person. We don't mind if a few qualified engineers are out there, but that comment probably is from an engineer, I bet. So, okay. 2, to control the glare and temporary lighting, aim the light source parallel or blank to the traffic. Is it perpendicular, diagonal, convergent, oblique, or I don't know? And so we're up 61. That's we'll just call it there, and let's see what we got. And we see that it's perpendicular is by far the majority choice, and those are that is the correct response in this instance. So let's look at the next question. A key feature of equipment-mounted balloon lights is 1, they cost less, mount easily, are low maintenance, reduce shadow and glare, or I don't know. So it's do they cost less, mount easily, are low maintenance, reduce shadow and glare, or I don't know. So we'll just stop and couple here, and that's okay, good enough. And let's just take a quick peek here. And reduce shadow and glare is certainly a main and important factor of their ability. And in addition to safety, contractors should use proper temporary lighting to increase what? Public acceptance, state DOT approval, productivity and quality, billable equipment, or I don't know. So these are our choices. 1, public acceptance. 2, state DOT approval. 3, productivity and quality. 4, billable equipment. And 5, I don't know. And so right around here, we'll just stop it, and let's see where we got. And obviously, productivity and quality are high. I'm sure that it will also increase public acceptance. And probably billable equipment, who knows. And 5, will you use something that you learned here in this module on your job? Is there a possibility that that will occur? Very likely, somewhat unlikely, very unlikely. And let's take a look when we get some of the numbers in. And that's probably enough. And let's just see what we got. And for the predominant number of people within the group, adding the 2 groups up, we would say that the answer is yes. And so now we're going to save out this module. And under this, I wanted to show the summary here, and that was for the night work lighting. And we can see what has actually happened here for the questions. Yeah, I know, I actually did it this time. Thank you. And we can actually see what it's doing is the percent answering competent in the pre was near the 20 and near the 90 at the close. To control the glare, originally 30 and up here. For the key feature of the equipment, for this, and of course then this is our overall summary of very likely or somewhat likely. So it allows us to score those up. And that takes us then on to, yes? Oh, okay. A couple of clarification issues that people have asked about, okay? One of the things is that some of you have been asking, how can I take the material from this program and use it in my program, or a program I already have? The way in which you can do that is you'll notice that here, when this program sets up, you can set it up so that your control bar appears along the bottom. So you can run any other program you want, and you can switch between these 2 programs. This can be running and another program can be running. So you can set this up to the areas you want and you can do it. The other thing you can do is, if you're familiar with how PowerPoint can switch between other programs using the Shift-Tab key and those combinations, you can use those combinations to switch back and forth between this program and other programs. Another issue that was raised was learning the program. How do you learn to operate this? Can you give this out and have everyone immediately using it? Well, probably not, but there are several aids incorporated into the program. At the beginning of the program, there is a movie, and you can play the movie, and the movie covers all the features. There's also a help button at the beginning of the program, and when you click the help button at the beginning of the program, you can do that in that regard as well. In other words, it's like a printable thing. When you install the program, it offers you a sheet that you can print out. And another feature that we've added here recently is a little help key up here. And when I click this help key, whenever I put my mouse over a feature, if I have that help turned on, it says click here or press 1 for more info. If I click down here, it says click here or press the left arrow key for a previous screen. So you can actually turn on these help aids up here from this Show Help button if you want to, and use that until you become familiar with all the commands and the controls. And whenever you put it over something that's active, it will do it. And while we don't have a word here that I can show you about, there's also an acronym key here. And if we pass over a word and there are none on this screen, of course, but if there's a word that, like MUTCD or FHWA, what it does is it spells out what that word means so that people can see it that way. And that is enough of that. And let me turn these off. And I guess, Omar, you're up now, right? Okay, you're going to take over and up here, and you ready?
Oh, you want to? Yeah.
I'll run it, or you can run it, either one.
That's fine, I can run.
You want me to do it? Okay.
So, buenos días con todos. Mi nombre es Omar López y bienvenidos a la conferencia de seguridad. Me acaban de decir que estamos un poquito atrasados, así que vamos a tener que aprender español en 5 minutos. Are you awake? That was just to give you an idea of a perception from the other side. When somebody's actually talking, when you're talking to somebody who is a Spanish speaker and you're speaking in English, like, Jose, how are you? How you doing today? We're going to have flagger today. You're going to be a flagger today. You're going to go to this corner and do this. Just you got your paddle over here, stop and slow. Communicate with your other Mr. John over there and do your job today. So the same way, the feeling that you have, they're the same way they feel as well. So what I say, by the way, is welcome for being here. And my name is Omar Lopez. I'm going to be teaching you some Spanish today. And they told me that we'll be behind a little bit, so we have 5 minutes to learn Spanish today. And it will be a quiz, right?
No quiz on this one.
Thank you. So what is the great thing about, and today I'm going to be teaching actually about safety, flagger safety, which is like one of the main killers in the industry as well. And that's why I think every time we do that's why we have this tool. It's a great tool actually. Good for you, bad for me, because it's taking my job. It has a great feature over here, which is voice, or you can actually switch to Spanish, and then you can switch to voice. And every time you switch the slides and you go back and interact.
¿Cuál es el principal peligro de vigilar?
You see, you don't need me anymore. ¿Cuál es el principal peligro de vigilar? So.
El trabajo de vigilar puede ser peligroso.
El trabajo de vigilar puede ser peligroso.
Los motoristas matan alrededor de 20 vigilantes al año.
And the great thing about this is like you can use it to teach yourself a little bit of Spanish if you understand some of the words, or you can always like teach your workers a little bit of English and Spanish, vice versa. You can always switch back to English and go back to Spanish. And you know most of
What are the main hazards of flagging?
There's a lot of materials out there translated. Like you go to the OSHA.gov, you can find like English and Spanish materials written. But the problem with the most of the Spanish speakers that work in the construction industry is that they don't actually can read. It's a high percentage. Like even if you give them like a good brochure or pamphlet that talks about trenches or safety excavations or flagger safety of anything, they won't be able to read it. But the great feature about this program is that it has the voice, so you can talk. So we go back to English. Okay. Right? Or we stay in Spanish. Español, por favor. So,
high-speed traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, turn off the voice. We don't want to have the voice for that.
Oh, the demo. This is a great demo that we have over here as well, and we can click on that. And what it shows over here is like the speed that you can go on the road and how will be the distance it would take for a car to brake, and you can get to choose different types of road conditions. So what do we check? Snow, right?
Snow,
There's so much snow over here. And then press number 3 to brake on your remote control. So that's 844 feet. Now there's another good feature over here, because as we know, the measurements, the metrics that we have in United States, miles per hour, inches, and in Spanish, and in most of the rest of the world, I think, they use the centimeters, kilometers, and meters. So you can always switch it to meters, and you might give the right idea to your workers when you talk about meters. 11,134. Well, I'm sorry, 1,134. O 1,134 en español también. And I think it talks as well. You can translate this into Spanish as well. You go down to the bottom. Español. See? And it says everything in español over there. You can change the units.
Oh, units, yes.
Mm-hmm. Good. So you can keep always going and changing different types of road conditions. and it will show the distance. Great. So that's a great feature. In every module you'll find those demos, and most of them are translated into Spanish as well, so you can see and work with them. So next will be, how do we protect ourselves? Be visible and wear protective equipment. We got a really good class from Emmett about the safety vests, class 1, class 2, class 3, hard hat.
Oh, and here's the OSHA. When an asterisk appears outside, we click on that. Whenever an asterisk appears out there, and it'll give you regulations. All the different DOTs.
ASDOTs. I have a question for you. Do you see the safety vests? Some of them are like lime green or orange. Who knows which is the color or the right color you're supposed to wear? Lime green or orange safety vests? Or what's the difference? Where will you use lime green or where will you use orange color safety vest? Yeah. According to, we recommend, I think, is that if you're working in an environment that is like equipment and orange equipment, you will wear the lime green. If you were working in an environment that was like bushes and trees in the back, so you will wear the orange one. Of course, some states, I think, they might have their own, priority on colors. Depends on the state, I think.
Next one.
Thank you. Keep your guard up. Stay alert all the time. Now this is really good. I do teach flagger classes as well, and I do English and Spanish, and I do use this product as well because it's an awareness program. Of course, you can certify somebody, but I use this first, and then I do the transition into like practical, and I do with the paddles and everything. But I use this course as well as an awareness program, and it works very good because when I'm teaching in English and Spanish, I can go back and forth. So what should flaggers avoid? Flaggers must avoid dangerous behaviors. That's pretty much it about safety flaggers, and I'll take questions in Spanish. No, go ahead if you have any questions about like this, like a barrier of communication that we have. It's an industry, it's out there because like 34% I think of our construction workforce is Spanish speakers, and that's good that we have this tool. That's what actually we have add these features into this great tool. It's gonna be taking my job someday. Technology. Questions? And by the way, if you need any help with any materials, because I have some other materials I have translated into Spanish as well, different topics, and we're actually working with the association as well, creating more materials on English and Spanish as well. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I understand that it's beneficial, especially from an agency perspective, to have Spanish-speaking courses or Spanish-speaking materials available. I guess the other side of that is, are there any initiatives to help the Spanish-speaking employees or Spanish-speaking workers to better acclimate themselves to the English language and kind of meeting in the middle, as opposed to trying to retrofit a system that has already been in place for several years, like the way we're doing things in industry? Is there something like that going on, Omar?
We are actually, I think, Bradley, we haven't any of those programs. Oh yeah, my program. I work with the District Department of Transportation in DC, and what I have is like that type of a program that we're like looking for is like working with both sides, Spanish speakers and English speakers. And what I do is like basic safety for construction trade, Spanish for the English speakers and English for the Spanish speakers. What I do is like, for example, how to say dangerous, don't go there, stay away, move out, move back, simple things that you might use outside on the job site. And I also do teaching for the English speakers and Spanish as well, because a lot of English speakers that work out there, they love to learn the language as well, because if they're working together, as I told them all the time, I told them, if you're working together, you need to watch out for each other. How are you gonna help your co-worker when you can't speak, okay, you can't say the word in Spanish or vice versa in English? So that's what I do, and it's like a good project that DIDA is having, and I've been doing it for like a couple years right now, and we have actually, this past couple years, we have trained at least 150 people up there. It's like, I think this is a pioneer project that we're starting to do with this. I hope we keep like growing on this. It's a great idea, because when it's about safety, language shouldn't be a barrier, I think. And that's why we're creating these things, and I'm pretty glad to present these things and work for this. Thank you very much. We're running a little bit behind.
My name is Scott Schneider. I'm with the Laborers Health and Safety Fund of North America. And we work with the Laborers Union, which represents about 500,000, mostly construction workers in the U.S. and Canada. So we do a lot of the construction work in many of your states. And when we originally started this program, we developed these modules as awareness modules, basically saying, look, let's develop something that's relatively short, that's going to sort of review some of the major safety problems in road construction for workers as an orientation before they start work at the beginning of a job site or when they come on the job site. So the majority, we've only shown you 4 modules today so far. There's 17 other modules. Most of them are relatively short, have 3 or 4 slides to sort of give an overview to workers of what the major hazards are and what can be done to make sure that they work safely and are protected on the job site. So I'm going to show you just very briefly another module or two, and then hopefully we can have some discussion. We'll have a few minutes for discussion. The one I'm going to show you is on trench safety, because we do have, there's about maybe about 40 or 50 workers killed every year in trenches in the U.S., and many of them are in utility jobs, small residential jobs, but some of them are in highway work. So we thought it was an important issue to address. So what are the dangers in trenches? First we have to really define what a trench is. And it's an excavation that's deeper than it is wide and that workers can be buried alive. Cave-ins can result from stresses in the walls, nearby moving vehicles or equipment, or spoils pile. Water can collect in the bottom. You can have toxic gases or flammable gases in the bottom. Gas can come from a nearby sewer or gas line. And we remind people that before digging, they should call the gas or electrical or communications utilities and use extreme caution with equipment. And you can see, as was mentioned on the last module, if you click on any line that has an asterisk, it'll highlight the relevant standards, OSHA regulations, MUTCD rules, etc. So here's the OSHA regulation for trenches. It defines what a trench is. And here are some of the rules on calling before digging. The estimated location of the utility that may be expected to be encountered during excavation shall be determined prior to opening an excavation. So first we define what the hazard is, and then we have 2 slides talking about how do you prevent cave-ins, because most of the trench fatalities come from cave-ins. You can slope the soil, and we have a demo here. This is an excavation calculator to show people the difficulties or what it takes to slope appropriately. So if we click the Start button, for example, we can set the width of the excavation. Say we make it 4 feet wide. Say we make it 12 feet deep. Okay, and we set the soil type. Say it's type C soil. And you can click this little question mark to see what that means. And then you set how you're gonna protect people. Say you're gonna slope it. So it's a 1 to 1.5 slope, and it shows you basically you're gonna need to excavate out 20 feet in either direction. And we have the cost calculator, cost per yard of trench length. And it tells you, we have question marks all over this to define what these things mean, to explain to somebody what it will take to actually protect people into this system. You can also bench the soil, where you can have steps in the trench wall. You can shore it, or you can provide shielding, a trench box. And then lastly, we go over the issue of employer has to have a competent person under the OSHA regulations. So what does that mean? Here's the requirement right here. A competent person is someone who is capable of identifying hazards or working conditions which are unsanitary, hazardous, or dangerous to employees, and who has the authorization to take prompt corrective actions to eliminate them. So a competent person is somebody who can stop the job if they see something that's not safe. And this is what the responsibilities of the competent person are: to take at least daily and at the beginning of every shift to do an inspection, after there's been precipitation or a thaw, if they see any disturbed ground, water, toxics, other hazards, if they see walls sagging or cracking or bulging, to keep equipment or the spoils pile at least 2 feet away from the trench edge, check if there's any vibration sources, and to make sure that no worker is more than 25 feet from an exit ladder. And as I mentioned, they should stop the work if there's a hazard, if a hazard exists. So that's really one of the major hazards that we wanted to address. I'll briefly go over another one, electrical hazards. There are a number of workers every year in road construction that get killed primarily from contact with an overhead power line. So we show you, for example, this is a video that was done by OSHA showing a power line contact. You can see, for example, as you look up here, you can see that the drop line from this crane is touching the power line, and as a result, you can see the outriggers are catching on fire. And, it can cause severe burns and death, and you should only work around electricity if you're trained in all aspects of the job and when you have reason to be there. Talk about above ground utilities, which are probably the major problem. We have the chart again. Get the utility company to mark, flag, and shield the lines. You should assume that it's live until it's been tested. Have it de-energized if possible. If it is energized, keep equipment and loads at least 10 feet away and post sounds at the ground level to mark safe distances. Make all the workers and drivers who are entering the area aware of the overhead power line, and have the operators have a safe route for travel and make sure that they drive slowly. If, unfortunately, you do contact a power line, if you're on the ground, you need to stay away from the vehicle. Do not touch the equipment. Get the line de-energized, and if you're in the vehicle, you should stay in the vehicle and not touch any metal. And if you get out, to jump clear of the vehicle and then shuffle slowly away. Does everybody understand why you do that? Because if you're walking and the amount of energy, electricity in the soil decreases rapidly from where the vehicle is. So if you step out, take a step, then the electricity can arc through your body from the higher area to the lower area. But if you're shuffling slowly away, you don't create as much difference between your feet and so you don't have the arcing. Okay, and around buried utilities, before you're digging again, call the utility company. These are the codes that are used, the standardized codes for coloring where lines are buried. What to look for if you see signs of previous digging or changes in soil types, asphalt patches, depressions, concrete, plastic, or gravel. It indicates there might be a line there, and if you do hit a line, you should report it immediately to the fire department. And lastly, I want to show you one more thing before we open it up for discussion. We do have a section on common health hazards in construction. We talk about how toxic substances can affect the body, and then what we have a number of slides of the six most common hazards. We talk about the hazards of silica, or S, asphalt, C for concrete, L for lead, or O for other hazards. So I'll just show you one of these. We do have a slide on silica. I know silica is becoming a big issue. OSHA is going to be putting out a regulation on silica soon. And silica is found whenever you're drilling, cutting, or sandblasting. It can cause silicosis, a lung disease. It also is a cancer hazard. And here's a demo we developed where you can see on the right side someone is cutting without using any water. On the left, they're wetting the saw as they're cutting. So you can see there's a huge difference in exposure. And it's likely that OSHA, when they come out with their rule sometime this year, they're going to be proposing to require that all cutting has to be done with wet methods or with a local exhaust ventilation. Or you need to use NIOSH-approved toxic dust respirators. And there's the OSHA standard. So anyway, I'm not going to go through the rest of these slides. Like I said, there are 16 other modules or 15 other modules. Generally, to give an awareness, an overview, do some orientation for workers that are coming on the site. We've given this out to thousands and thousands of contractors all over the United States, as well as contractors in other countries that have downloaded it. We've had over 5,000 people download it off the internet. We have gotten very positive feedback from people. People find it very useful. We hope that you find it useful. I don't know, have any of you used it already in your work sites or with your DOTs? Yeah, in the back, you've used it? Okay. We think that it's going to have make a small, we hope, an important contribution towards protecting workers on the job site. From the union perspective, we think it's very helpful. We think we're using this at our training centers. We have 70-some training centers around the U.S. and Canada, and we're using it at our training centers to train our members. We hope you'll use it. Are there any questions about the program or about the material we went over? Any discussion? Any comments?